Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Looking for Love in All the Wrong Dust Jackets, a show where three disgruntled harpies talk to you about everything we love in romance, whether that's books, movies, TV shows, whatever we like. My name's Liz.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Wiggles.
And welcome to the episode. Today we are discussing Married to the Devil by Lillian Lark, the fifth book, I believe, in the Monstrous Match series.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, before we get going, I gots to warn you, I gots to let the people know that we are crass and unhinged. We're terribly unladylike. And we're going to talk about all of the naughty times, which there are many, with all them four little words. So
Which there are many.
Which there are many. Okay, Wiggles, tell us about Lillian Lark.
Okay, so if you didn't already know, we've already done an episode about Lillian Lark. And that episode was Deceived by the Gargoyles, which is also in this series. So check that out. But also in this like Monstrous Matches series, we have Stalked by the Kraken, Found by the Lake Monster, Ensnared by the Werewolf. And so you should check those out. Good times, super fun. Also, she's got Three of Hearts and Pair of Fools, so you can check those out as well. And this is what Lillian Lark has to say about herself, okay? Born and raised in the saltiest of cities in Utah, Lillian is an avid reader, cat mom to 3 demons, and loves writing sexy stories that twist you up inside. So, that's Lillian Lark. Danny, what is this Lillian Lark book, Married to the Devil, about?
This is about a arranged marriage, essentially. Our female main character, her father was kind of like the head of a territory. He's an asshole. Shit went down in a previous book, and now she's decided that she's going to marry the new territory leader in order to kind of settle things.
Mm-hmm.
But she has a friend whose name is Ben.
Mm-hmm.
He's our sweet, sweet boy. And he is a demon, essentially. And she calls to him on the wedding night because awful things ensue, and we'll talk about that. And then her new husband decides that he wants Ben too.
Wow.
So let's talk about it.
I will say, before we get into it, with most of the books in the series, I don't think you really need to read the one before. This one, I feel like it really adds to the story.
Yeah.
So the one before
Hoarded by the Dragon.
is Hoarded by the Dragon. I think I missed that in my list earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You did. You also missed Entranced by the Basilisk.
Which
God
is
damn.
so good.
Listen, the website lied to me. It's not up to date. And you're right. I did mess that up. So I'll just cower in a corner.
But you're definitely right that, like, even if you don't read anything else, you probably should start with Hoarded by the Dragon before you read this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I read Hoarded by the Dragon when it first came out.
Same.
And then when I started reading this book, she gives you, the author, no grace. You either know or you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yes.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I had moments where I'm like, I don't remember what happened.
I'm really glad I read it just a few weeks prior.
Well, not only that. So I've read this one, Married to the Devil, twice now. And I definitely liked it a lot more in my second read through because I was prepared for the things that I didn't know. But there's also a lot of just context around like the timeline between Stella, our female main character, and Remy Stoneheart, the gargoyle new territory leader, arranged marriage, that if you haven't read the previous book, it like you're missing a lot. You're missing that these two are together so fucking fast. They had to get together so fast to get rid of her father, who was threatening her best friend, who's the main character of the previous book.
Correct.
Like it's all
who
needed.
is in a like weird relationship, kind of not relationship, but stuck with each other because of pregnancy relationship with a dragon who is the leader of that area. What do they call them? Not area. Territories. Yeah. And also that is where our main character in this book meets Ben.
Yes.
Who is the second to said dragon.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you could definitely, you can get away with it, but it is going to confuse you a little bit, I think, if you don't read Hoarded by the Dragon.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Also, there are certain things that if you haven't read, say, Deceived by the Gargoyles, you don't know about the gargoyle culture.
It's true. That's also
but
true.
I didn't feel like that was
It's not as prominent,
yeah.
but you don't understand until finally the dragon later on says something to Ben about it, where he's like, well, you know, gargoyles live in clans.
Right.
This could be a thing. He's basically screaming at him without screaming at him that go, be with them.
Right.
Be happy.
Like they're polyamorous. They
Yes,
they collect all of the people and keep them.
It's
Gotta
not,
catch them all.
Yes.
and it wouldn't be a you're here to be with Stella thing. It's you're here to be with them thing.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
was basically waving green flags at him saying, go be free, child.
Yes.
To be fair to Ben, the devil was a real problem.
Yeah.
Remy was a real problem from point A to like point Y. There were a few points after where it was like, oh, I guess I'm not a problem no more. But that was it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot to talk about with this book, and a lot of it lives in between like the sentences, because there's also only briefly kind of mentioned, but it's extremely important that Ben, who is a demon, is an orphan and did not grow up in any culture. So he doesn't know anything about his own past or like demon culture. Remy is half gargoyle, half human, who was also rejected by his clan. So like he's got,
Doesn't really know.
issues.
It's also important to clarify that he was rejected by his clan because his mother died and his dad just decided, I can't do this anymore, and turned into stone, which is something that gargoyles do. And they were just like, we don't want this fucking orphan.
Right.
Gross. Yeah. And then Stella's got her own parent shit because her dad married her mom and then decided that he was going to claim that her mom cheated, and that's how Stella came about, even though that was like fundamentally obviously not true based on the fact that she was not a lion shifter.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's a
And
witch.
she came out a witch because her mom was a witch. And so they're all pretty fucked.
Fucked in how they were raised. She admittedly had a lovely mother, but everybody else kind of was screwed.
Yeah.
And it didn't cause hangups or anything at all.
Not at all.
No.
No daddy issues.
No. They all had daddy issues. Like daddy issues specifically.
Yep.
Well, because Ben also treats Kalos, who's the dragon man from the previous book, like his pseudo father.
He does. Yes.
I mean, admittedly, when you're friends with somebody that old, you kind of end up,
Somebody thousands of years old.
yeah, you're going to end up having them be a father figure in your life.
So that's the backstory. I feel like we can't really talk about anything else in the book until we talk about the very first scene, because that sets the stage.
Sure does. So Stella has made this commitment that she is going to marry, quote unquote, the devil, or Stoneheart, because he's going to help her take over her territory. And that's like the deal that she's made, because she's also then going to be like, hey, Kalos, if you could kill my dad, that'd be pretty sweet. And he does. Great success.
Which is important, because otherwise the council, who is like the group of supernatural people who I don't really know. They oversee that. I don't really know what their whole fucking thing is.
They're corrupt as fuck is what they are.
Yeah.
But if Kalos went and killed Lorenzo, her dad, without any like due course or reason, that would have been no good. But because Stella is coming in and being like, nay, now I'm the territory leader, apparently it's okay.
I guess.
Must be.
Politics of that weren't really clear to me, but I just sort of yada that.
Yes.
But anyway, so she's agreed to marry him, and Ben and her have been like flirting.
Flirty flirt.
But she's like, I made this commitment and it is what it is, so I'm getting married to this man, and that is going to be what it is, which means I have to say goodbye to Ben. Except that Ben puts a forget-me-not in her hair. And
He plans her whole damn wedding.
he does do that as well.
He is a sweet, sweet boy.
Yeah, and just has to painfully look on as what he presumes to be the love of his life going to get married because he's too chicken shit to say anything.
You snooze, you lose, bro.
Well, but also, what is he gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
she has to marry Remy Stoneheart to make this whole politic thing work.
And the timing like is real shit because they just started to like get vibes,
Yes.
and that's when
Yeah.
this happened. So even if he had implored her to like not, because he's in love with her, he would have come across as grade A crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, she goes through with it, and then they're supposed to have their wedding night where he's supposed to become mated to her, and there's a whole process that basically is like have sexy time and bite on the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very typical
Yeah.
shifter
Mhm.
paranormal romance.
Yes.
We fuck, we bite. Woo.
And then he does this whole thing where it seems like maybe there's the potential that this isn't just, it could be more than a political marriage.
Yeah.
Like it could be something where they could be friends,
Mm-hmm.
lovers.
They can get along.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he makes it seem like that's where it's going because he specifically asks her what she's into. He like takes the time to seduce her, and then he's like, he proceeds to be shit
for it. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's the point. Miss
then-
Lark, you
Oh,
would.
She's good. God damn it.
God damn it. It was
And-
rude. It
And
was
then he's
rude.
a complete asshole.
Mm-hmm. He bites her. He comes all over her.
Well, he does at least eat her out first. And you
Oh,
know
yeah.
what?
He gets her off.
I'll give him
does.
credit for that.
He does. He does also, on the other hand, call her a prize, which is. Ugh.
Well, there's a that's a specific turn of phrase that is very like deliberate.
Yes.
And it's important
Yes.
because the whole thing about Stella, and I think one of the reasons I love her so much as a character, is Ben and Stoneheart constantly call her like chaos incarnate and this little chaotic thing. And it's like, she's actually not that chaotic. She just absolutely refuses to do what you fucking tell her to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And not even like in a petulant kind of way, just in a, I'm just going to do me, and I'm sorry if that seems to upset you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a fully autonomous person.
Yes.
And I'm capable of making my own decisions. So fuck you. Like, what?
And it's not my fault that you thought I was going to make other decisions, because that's not happening.
That's honestly on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole point of how Stoneheart set up that like wedding night was so that when the council sent somebody to accidentally burst into the room, they look like they're in the throes of passion, and that means that this is a real
They can see
mating.
the mating mark. They
Yeah.
can smell what happened.
Yeah.
And everything, but he didn't actually fuck her, which I think was his kind of way of trying to spare her feelings. And like, he always had intended on having sex with her eventually, but I think he wanted them to know each other just a little bit more before that happened.
I don't
disagree.
think so.
Eh.
I think he was very objectifying, like, especially because he could have just come out and said,
Yeah.
hey, this is like, I just want a political marriage. This is a thing we have to do. I want to make sure you're comfortable as possible, but like, this is not a romantic entanglement. He could have just fucking said
Oh,
that,
he
and she
absolutely
would have been
could've.
down.
Yeah.
But instead, he was like, he made it almost seem like it was. He made it seem like it wasn't just an obligation. He was attracted to her, and then flipped it around
Yeah.
through the machinations he
Well,
carried out.
you do find out when he's talking to his second later on, because he had come and proposed marriage to her like a year before or
Oh,
something
it was like
that.
10 years before. It was
Yeah,
like, it was a long time ago.
before.
Like, he had come and asked for her hand before, and she told him no. And I get the impression that he has been butthurt all of this time.
Well, he's been like watching her all this time as well. Mr. Creepy Stalker Man.
As many of the men in Lillian Lark's books are.
She does have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That a lot.
I don't mind it, sadly enough. I
No.
like her books a lot.
I really do, yeah.
Yes.
Hence, I have absorbed every book in this series.
I think we all have.
The only one I think I haven't read at this point is Stalked by the Kraken.
The
Oh.
first one?
The first
Yeah,
one.
The
yeah.
first one I said, fuck that.
I think
apparently.
at least when I went to read it a while ago, it was not on Kindle Unlimited. So that's why I had skipped it for a while. And then I was like, fuck it. It's $2. $2. Here you go.
I'm just like fully chaos reading it. I haven't read any of these in order except for the last two.
Well, because Stalked by the Kraken is where you get brought into the Love Bathhouse.
Yes.
Which they do have a night in this book.
They do in all of her books.
Mhm.
It's like a key thing. I will say, because we've gotten completely away from the plot.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. because we're still talking about the book.
Chaos
And
Gremlin.
one of the things that I get like a little nugget of joy reading a lot of people's books, but especially Lillian Lark's, because we've kind of done it together. It's just watching the progress of her as an author.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, oh, look at you.
Look at what you did there.
I'm so, yay.
Yes.
I'm so proud of somebody who has no idea who I am.
Yeah. Couldn't be bothered.
But we love you.
Getting back to that
Yes,
night.
yes.
No, it's fine. I have no objections of a tangent, and I think we all know this. But I what I loved about that is it set up a dynamic where even if there wasn't miscommunication, there was constant miscommunication. Like
Yes.
even if both or either of them were communicating very clearly what they thought and wanted, you couldn't trust it because neither one of them knew where the other one stood the whole rest of the book. And so I thought it was a really good way of pushing us forward into chaos.
Well, and it also kind of set Stoneheart up to be not the bad guy, but certainly not a nice guy.
Yeah.
And when we get his perspectives, you understand why he is the way he is and why he makes some of these choices, because he's kind of always been the underdog. He's always had to overcalculate and overplan for everything to take these smaller territories and work his way up to where he is now. So he's just very politically minded and driven, and the idea, of this just being another territory that he has to do, and he's going through these steps to make sure he has it properly secured. But that doesn't make him the good guy.
No.
He does some dumb shit.
Oh my God, he does.
Yeah.
But then again, so does Ben. I think Stella's the only one who's kind of mostly not done too dumb a shit.
Well, and when she does do dumb shit, it's usually not like, I'm gonna mind fuck you.
Right.
It's like, oh, I didn't realize that was like a thing.
Yeah.
Or it's like in reaction to even dumber shit that the other two
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
She is clearly the level-headed one, and they're both like, you're chaos. And she's like, bitch, what the fuck?
I love that everybody else around them seems to understand that she is not the chaos in this
Yeah.
situation. Like, they all are just like, nah, it's fine.
Especially Silas, who is Stoneheart's second. He just like immediately kind of gravitates towards Stella, is like, no, she's cool. It's all good. Why are you treating her like that? Maybe just talk to her.
You could do less.
Yeah.
You could do less. I also think Silas has got to be our next guy, right?
I need to know, because it could also be that the other shifter territory leader, Lobo, I believe his name was.
Yeah.
I was getting vibes that there was a story to be told there.
I'm eyebrow waggling.
We immediately already won it, and this didn't come out that long ago.
Yeah. How dare you take a breather to write your book? Give it to us now.
Put me inside your mind.
I have
Sorry,
a feeling we wouldn't
Lillian,
want
if you
that,
ever hear
actually.
that, I really apologize. That was me being chaos incarnate. Because
We're just
unlike
channeling Stella, who's apparently chaos.
I was gonna say, because unlike our sweet Stella, I am chaos incarnate.
Oh my gosh.
I would have caused way more problems
Oh,
than she did
so
in
much.
this situation.
Yeah, she is like, so we have read a few kind of political marriages and books, and she does what I think is the most level-headed and smartest thing. So technically this territory is hers, right? So it's Stoneheart only gets it because he's married to her,
Right.
and she steps up like day one.
Yep.
Goes, I'm gonna be in all of your like briefing meetings. I
need to figure out how to protect my people because some shit's going down. I do really appreciate that is one thing that he is instantly focused on, trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong. Why are these people disappearing? Where did they go? Like, it shows that he's not just like, I want all the land. He wants to protect the people as well.
Yeah, he's definitely got like a horde thing going on.
Well, yeah.
He's got also a bit of a hero complex going on.
Right.
He thinks that everybody's going to be better if he's running the territory. And it's like, if you have too much territory, then no, that doesn't make sense.
Though, to be fair, in this territory, it definitely does.
It turns out he was correct in this
Yes.
one. On this one, he was right.
Yeah.
Lorenzo's a dick.
Fuck, right.
I really love. So I've really come to appreciate the magic world that Lillian Lark has built, and her explanations of like, because witches don't necessarily have like, oh, I can cast any spell I want. They have certain things that they're good at.
Yeah.
One person specifically is paper. Anything having to do with paper, she can see things with it. And with our sweet Stella, it's metals and metals and stones.
Yes.
And I fucking love that. And the fact that he like took all his rings off so that she couldn't read him the night of. And I'm like, you bastard.
Although the ring is sort of our first tell that he's been paying more attention than she thinks he has. And that it's part of why she has every right to feel very fucking confused. Because, like, he does all this sweet shit for her, like, does, like, love language, acts of service all over the place.
Yep.
And gifts all over the place. But emotional connection, fuck you.
Which, especially if you know gargoyle culture, gifts is huge.
Very
like
big.
that is like the way to court someone is to give gifts.
Yes.
And he sets up her entire workshop from her house since she moved in with him in this like room that's exactly the way it was at her place. And it's such a sweet thing. So yeah, he does things that you're like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet and lovely. And then he does other things where you're like, are you trying to get slapped?
Yes.
He also puts a comfy chair where she
Yes.
had always meant to get
Yes.
one. And he was like, there needed to be a chair there.
Yes.
I'm like,
And he does, the thing is, yeah, he just doesn't communicate because then he doesn't, their bedroom, because they have to share a bedroom so that they have their smells on each other. He specifically does not decorate because he wants her to do it, but he just doesn't tell her that. Like he could have told her, this is our room. Please decorate it however you like. That's why it looks barren.
And the wedding ring he gives her, I don't remember exactly what she said it stood for, but it was something like fidelity and loyalty and stuff like that. But he specifically picks a gemstone and metal that would resonate that way.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how the fuck is she supposed to read that any other way? And the problem is he is determined to not let there be any emotions and then does things that are very emotionally charged.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if anybody else did them, you would be like, that boy's in love
Yeah.
with that person over there. Like, full stop.
Like, even though he does have constant double reasonings for doing certain things, like the reason that Ben comes to their territory is Stoneheart made this proposition that said you can be Stella's bodyguard. And of course, there's two things here, right? Like Stoneheart wants Ben because he can teleport. It's a very, very powerful ability that not really anybody or many people have, and also because it wants Ben, you know what I mean.
Yeah, he do.
But also like explaining to Stella, this is somebody that is from your old life. You are in my world now with all of my people, so now you have somebody with you all the time that is just for you, that you trust. And I'm like, that's very nice.
Yes.
Right? Not helpful.
I was so conflicted right along with her where I was like, I hate him. I love him.
Yes.
I hate him. I love him.
If you read the back or the very end of the book where it does like the author notes, that's something that she points out. Is she's like, it was really hard to like make you hate and love Remy at the same time.
Great success.
Like, well,
Yeah.
you did it.
You did
did
it.
it so well that like I burned through the majority of this book overnight. Like I said,
Yeah.
I just decided sleep is for the weak.
I accidentally woke up at 7 a.m. on Saturday and said, fuck it, let's do this, and read the entire book.
I read it when it first came back out in December. We're reading this in the middle of February, or recording this middle of February, and like I did reread it.
Well, yeah, but you're Liz and you read much faster than the
Well,
way
I
Liz
also
and
don't
me.
remember jack shit most of the time, so I was like, I have to reread it to be able to talk about it and refresh my memory. But
Yeah.
also, oh no, I have to reread
Oh,
it.
no.
Oh, shucks, I have
no.
to reread a Lillian Lark. I've reread multiple of them.
I'm
pretty sure I've read Deceived by the Gargoyles like 4 times now.
damn. I said, damn.
You know, another thing that we get in bits and pieces along the way, but especially towards the end, is yes, Remy wants Ben for himself, but he is pissed that Ben is even questioning leaving because he's like, you're for my girl.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fuck, bro? You're supposed to be her emotional support because I'm not going to do that shit.
You're supposed to do this because I'm bad at it.
Yes.
And
It's like, she deserves both of us. God damn it.
Yes.
And he does things that trying to like get him to realize but again, you need to have a conversation, bro.
Well, oh, to be fair, with Ben, they had many conversations.
Yes.
Many times they said, stay with us. you are always welcome here. You always have a place with us.
Yeah, they really
Both
were
of
trying to
them.
beat that in.
Both of them constantly were like, no, you belong here, my guy.
Well, but like, so Remy redoes the entire bedroom. He realizes he needs to like make an effort.
Yeah.
Yay, good job, bud. You figured something out. And
He
so
does that sometimes.
He does that
Every once in a while,
sometimes.
he's like, I fucked up here.
he's like, oh, so I should do courting gifts, and so he redoes the entire fucking bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things he does is has like a custom beautiful headboard made for their bed, and he carves forget-me-nots in it.
Which Ben doesn't even fucking notice.
But
that
Stella
stupid
does.
bitch.
Yeah,
But
Stella
Stella
does
does.
immediately, and
Yes.
she's like, and then he also gives him a piano.
Which, of course, he
does.
notices because it's
Yeah.
a piano. But, like, dude, why do you think they're constantly, like, doing shit for you?
Yes.
It's not just because they want to fuck you. I mean, they do want to fuck you, but
That was one of my favorite moments when Remy comes back to life,
Mhm.
essentially from being stone slept, and he's like, well, yeah, it's our bed, and she goes, he carved forget-me-nots in the headboard, and he goes, did he?
oh shit.
God damn it, you stupid man.
I was just like, really? Bud. Which, in his defense, there were usually two hot naked people in the bed. I wouldn't stare at the headboard either.
I
but
definitely forgive Ben of that.
Yes.
Like-
He was usually either getting down or being a full on voyeur.
Yeah.
So, to be fair.
there's not really a cuck chair in that room. There's just you're going to sit right here so we can touch you too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. You know, here's the other thing about Ben that it took me too long to realize. More than one book, as it turns out, that his last name is Barnes. And I was like, did you just rip off that fucking actor's name? And then as soon as I realized that, I was like, now all I can picture is Ben Barnes.
Who's Ben Barnes?
The Darkling in Shadow and Bone.
Oh,
Caspian and Prince Caspian.
this going right over my
Dorian
head.
Gray and The Portrait of Dorian Gray. I don't know why he's always title characters. All right, I'll show you. Hold on.
No, because I don't want to ruin my image. I don't need this in my life. Oh yeah, I didn't know that guy's name was Ben Barnes.
That's what I'm saying. I literally was like, Lillian, is that defamation? I don't know. Is that slander?
One of the things that I really struggled with Ben and my first time reading, I didn't realize until my second time why I struggled with it. Like, I just could not get into his character. I couldn't get behind it. I understood it, but I was just like, ugh, why? Remy, he's grumpy and hot, and he has a tail that he uses a lot for a lot of things.
There was significant tail action.
She had to
Yeah.
make up for 2 other gargoyles and his amount of tail usage.
Yeah.
Well,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my brain figured it out pretty quickly in my second read. I was like, oh, it's because I connect to Ben, because Ben has a lot of my problems. God damn it.
Damn
You
it,
know.
Lillian.
You know, the whole like, oh, I'm going to counteract everything in life with being very meticulous and having all of these things planned. And I don't
Mhm.
like being in these strange situations. I'm very connected to the people I have over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's fine.
I liked him in the middle a lot.
In the middle of the book?
Oh, no, just in the middle of those 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Between Stella and Remy. Yes. Be there more often.
Yep. God, all the time were like, you need to stay with us. Like, well, and that's the stupid thing is that they constantly were making like things about, well, what if people find out, blah blah blah, and it's like, but gargoyles are polyamorous, so why
Well,
would it be a problem?
To Ben's like mental status of that, like the entire book is about this instability in the territory and instability in putting Stoneheart and Stella as the leaders.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? They have to do all of these things in the beginning of the book because they haven't actually had sex yet. The shifters, or like penetrative sex yet. All the shifters can smell the fact that he didn't come inside of her, which don't need that in my life.
Here's my question is, how can you tell the difference? What does it, how do you smell the difference between it up in the business
How can they smell the
and
difference
on your
between
skin?
when she's
How can you tell the difference?
I would imagine it's more that like it gets washed off when it's on the outside, and when it's on the inside, it lingers up in there.
Okay, this is gross, but all I can think is, why doesn't she just do a little ode to perfume and dab every day?
Well, okay, but not that, but we do kind of get there of the sense of like, well, we just need to put his semen on up in her.
Which I believe the comment I made on my Kindle was fucking feral behavior. It was wild.
And this is the only a couple of nights after the terrible wedding night situation.
Yes, they move so fast. They're
Yeah.
just like, we be fucking. It's fine. Like, I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks into them being married. They're like, I think we got to put a baby in this one. Like, what? Whoa.
I will say, I think, so she cooled like her anger towards him a little bit, mostly because they then found out that he's not the one who took her luggage. So a big thing with her is that he did all this, which was humiliating, and she was pissed, but she did also kind of understand with the council situation. But then he left, and none of her luggage was there, and there was no towels, and so she's just butt naked in this room with a dress that is torn to shreds, and that's why she called for Ben in the first place.
And come all over her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why she called for Ben in the first place. Well, come to find out, it wasn't his fault. That was not his doing whatsoever. Her cousins, as kind of a practical joke, sent it to their new house or his place where she'll be living, as opposed to the hotel. Innocent enough, kind of.
Well, that is. It goes further later.
It does.
Yes. For the one cousin, isn't
yeah.
innocent enough. He was, whoops.
That scene is also like Stella cools or warms or whatever, has a different opinion of Remy because she found out about the workshop, and then he also gives her a labradorite stone, which I can't remember what it signifies, but it's also it meant a lot to her.
Yes.
It's like clarity, and it can like help you tap into your ability.
Yeah. So Remy has this great idea. What if to get his semen up in you, we're just gonna have Ben do it.
Well, and the wildest thing about it is that was that their first like sexual encounter too, of all three
Stella,
of them?
Yes.
It was also Stella and Ben's first sexual encounter. Like, I don't even think they had kissed before that.
Right, because they no, they did kiss, and
okay.
because she was like, I shouldn't have done that, because the way he sets it up is that Ben's her bodyguard and has to be with her all the time, and they keep having these moments of like, all I would have to do is like lean in a little bit and we'd be at it, but it's heavily implied he does not want them to touch, and like also he has set that boundary.
Yeah, not by yourselves. It has to be all three of us.
Yes,
But he also set the boundary with Ben in like a playful way of anytime you touch her, I'll have to take my punishment. Wink, wink, wink.
But I don't know if Ben at first realizes that it's a sexual punishment kind of thing. Like, he's just like, I don't know what this man wants. I'm very confused.
When she comes out of that room and Ben's hair is ruffled and we didn't know what happened.
Yeah.
We find out shortly after because you get their point of view, but it was like, you don't know what happened. I was like, oh, Stoneheart decided he liked a man. Because I knew it was coming.
Well, yeah.
I'd read the back of the book.
Yes.
And it's a Lillian Lark.
If there are multiple people involved, they are all involved.
Yes.
Correct.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I like the threesome not being everybody about the girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love all three of them being involved with each other.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's hot.
Yes.
Well, and all of them kind of having distinct relationships with each other, right? So Remy has had kind of this fascination with Stella for a long time. And we talked about his stalking, but which was a personal thing, right? He's had this attraction over to her, but he also needed to keep track of her because she is a political piece on the playing field. Playing field. I've mixed up too many things.
Pawn.
Nope, that makes it more messed up, I think.
Piece on the chessboard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, because he calls her, basically, she's a piece on the board, and she goes, yeah, you'll never, but you seem to forget that the queen takes all, or something like that. And I'm like,
the queen is the strongest piece. So, like, they have this tumultuous relationship where they're immediately attracted to each other. But like you said, have no idea where each other stands in this footing. And she and Ben have this kind of like sweet, playful thing, and like, oh, what could have been? Woe is me. But Remy and Ben are, I mean, they're hot together.
oh,
They are.
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I kept going, Stella could go out of the room for a minute.
I think one of my favorite parts of the book, but I just wish it was fleshed out a bit more, was the conversation that happens between Stella and Remy, where he is explaining that she can have Ben, right? Yeah. That is on the table, but that Ben is also his kind of situation. And Stella's like, oh, so that's why you didn't want to do that with me. You don't want me, you want him. And Remy has to, just says, stop, Stella. I've always been attracted to you. I'm like, ugh. And I just wanted it to get fleshed out. I wanted her to poke at that more.
Well, he has these lines, though, because I think it's in that scene where she's like, why would Ben, do this? Or why would Ben go along with this? Because it would, ruin his relationship with Kalos. And Stoneheart is like, don't you understand that one taste of you would be worth risking it all? Right. And I'm like, why?
He had a couple of them that I was like, sir.
Yes.
I literally slammed shut the Kindle for a minute.
Yes, there were a few times where I my phone's flipping everywhere. I'm like, oh my god. Well, for me, that moment was the first throuple sexual encounter. There were multiple things that happened in that where I was just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh
my tail action,
oh my god, because what you get in there is that. That he's allowing, and by he I mean Remy, is allowing Ben to go down on our girl Stella, and Stella's like, yes, I will have this, thank you.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Well, let's not forget that she's sitting on Stoneheart's lap while that's happening.
Yep.
Key point. For anybody who hasn't read a Lillian Lark, if you're looking for spice, but very, very variety spice, this is where you want to be.
Yes. Welcome to Lillian Lark.
Yes. Oh my god.
I've considered just buying all of these books just so that I have them.
Well, that's understandable.
At all times.
As somebody who has a couple of physical copies, it's really nice to just open to certain chapters at some times.
Yeah. Well, so the transfer of power, if you will, comes in the form of Ben going, so ladies taking care of, my guy Gargoyle, we're going to take care of you. And now that I got it, let's transport it.
I love how Ben is he wants to be the sub, but he also loves to push back so much on Remy.
Yes.
I'm just like, yes. Just push him a little bit.
He brats so fucking hard.
Right?
He does brat hard. He also does have he is a little bit of a masochist. He likes pain.
Yes.
And when Remy finds out that Ben does occasionally hurt himself as a form of punishment, his response is, no more. If you need that sort of punishment, you are coming to me.
Yes. You come to me for pain from now on. And I'm just like, okay.
I know. That hit me in my stomach in a weird way. And I was like, I need to process.
Right.
Okay.
I loved that, though, because it is a form of care. He's making sure that he
yes.
doesn't hurt himself. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think asking to get hurt sounded so sweet. But,
It's the classic, I'm going to find a way to take care of you, which he does all the time, right? That's the reason Stoneheart doesn't treat Stella the same way as he treats Ben, is because he's caring for them both where they need to be cared for.
Yes. Well, and one of the things, and this is why I got so fucking mad at him, is in Stella and Remy's first interaction, he says, is asking her about her things she's into. Yeah. And he specifically asks if she would like to be submissive, and she's like, I don't know, maybe. Yeah. And he's like, let's try. and helps her gently explore that, and then immediately is like, and also I'm a cold-hearted asshole.
Well, isn't it also in that first scene where he tells her something about restraints, and he's like, if you don't like it, just say red, or maybe that's in a different scene, but he's constantly just being like, I'm going to check in. I'm going to be here with you.
So you're combining two. So in that first one, he says, how do you feel about restraints? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, okay, well, just hold your hands over your head.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And we'll start there. And then later on, when it's the two of them Eiffel Towering, that's where the red comes in.
Gotcha.
Yes. Because there's variety, if you guys have been caught in that already.
Variety.
Yes. And it's it's so good. I think is her spiciest book that I've ever read. Like the amount per page, I think this is the most. Quantity at least.
I haven't read like Entranced by the Basilisk in a long time because I thought for a while that was her spiciest. But I think you're right. I think this one is like taking the cake.
I read that one very recently.
Okay, good. Then you will know.
So I think this is one of the fastest coming up into that dominion, because the other ones you kind of have to like work up into.
It's
the
literally
sexy times.
The first scene in the book is a spicy scene.
I'm aware, but every other one of these in this series, you have to work up to that situation. Because even Deceived by the Gargoyles, where they do have sex very quickly, because the 3 gargoyles are in a relationship and then they bring her into it, so she's not involved in that. But you do get a sexy time scene between 2 of our gargoyles. But even then, that's not for a while, because you have to really get introduced to the boys first.
Hoarded by the Dragon has a sex scene pretty quickly.
That one jumps in fast on that. But then there's
like a big break.
Yeah.
But that's because, pregnancy.
Premise is that she is pregnant, which is not a spoiler. She's pregnant on the fucking cover.
Surprise.
And then they decide to put a baby on her.
Well, for sex scene wise, yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of other shit that happens.
Well, there's some other sexy scenes that happen. One of my favorites is the one at the piano.
Oh, that piano one.
Uh-huh.
That's the reason he gets Ben a piano.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 3 of them break away from a soiree that they're at for the fucking political, bullshit, that type of thing.
It's at her aunt's house.
Yeah. And they go into the music room, and that's what does a piano.
Well, and that's the moment where he's like, 2-for-1 punishment special.
Yes.
So he's like, all right, Stella, get on the piano. And she's like, okay. And then he's like, Ben, you can put your P in that V, but you don't get to come. And he proceeds to fucking wrap his tail around his dick, and he's like, none for you, bitch.
He does that a lot to Ben.
Yes.
Yep.
The tail is
really
used
hot.
The tail is used in a variety of ways.
Yes. The whole situation, super hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was, after they got done, I was like, oh, she made a mess on her aunt's piano.
Oh, don't worry. Stoneheart is here to clean it up.
Well, like, we are reading this from Stella's perspective, right? And so she's like, oh my God, he's going to come after me now too. And he exclusively cleans the piano underneath her. And she's just like, son of a bitch. I'm hot all over again. God.
And of course, they're in a house full of shifters, so they all know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And she gave Ben a bracelet that makes it so that his scent can't be detected.
So whenever they have sex, they only smell Remy's scent all over her. But also, they can't, like, it works both ways. Like, Ben can't pick up either of their scents either.
And she finds out later on, when they're in the bathhouse, that Remy finds it offensive.
He finds it offensive on a couple different fronts. The first one is Ben got a gift before he did. But then, he can't smell Ben, and he can't smell himself on Ben, and he can't smell Ben on him. And it's like a problem, I guess.
He wants all 3 of their scents to be mixed and the whole world to know, and he finds it offensive that it's not a thing.
Can he also, like, detect something about, like, where your emotional state is too from that? I don't know exactly what it is, but
yeah, it's kind of like your scent changes if you're like super angry or super anything, sad or something.
Well, I'll smell angry, bitch.
That bathhouse scene was hot too.
Oh yes, it just kept getting hotter.
Yeah.
And she had a little something in there for if you have a breeding kink, I don't, but
by a little something, you mean at a certain point they shift gears from it is now our job to get Stella pregnant.
Which is a big plot because they specifically need Stoneheart to get her pregnant. But oopsie doopsie, Ben is actually the one who got her pregnant. Oh no.
Well, she goes into a heat. And that honestly was the turning point for me, where I was like, that scene where they're going through her heat and are trying to get her pregnant and yada yada. And I was sort of like, I like Ben, but I don't love Ben until she is So Stoneheart has a knot, and he's not giving it to her at all, like refuses. And a couple of times into this, eventually she gets to the point where like she's literally sobbing because her biology has been fucking changed by his mating bite.
Yeah.
And she needs it. And he's like, nah, it's too emotionally charged. Bitch, I'm coming to kick your ass.
He's like trying to protect Stella from getting too emotionally invested because he doesn't think that he can be there for her. But yet at the same time is constantly, like you said, constantly doing things that get her emotionally invested.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Ben has to step in and sort of like mimic it the best he can with his hand. And later on, when they are trying again, it's unsuccessful. Ben's went and got in this like potion that's supposed to like make her fertile all over again. And
makes her a little cray-cray.
yes. Because Ben's thing is he's a problem solver. So he's like, I can't do anything about getting her pregnant because that's not my job, but I can solve this problem, right? And like the negotiation that he has with Stoneheart is so great. Like I love how he's just like, no, you can't touch her unless you agree to this, and I will fuck you up otherwise.
Well, basically, it comes down to the fact that Remy and Stella have been telling Ben over and over and over again, do not leave us. And Ben is finally like, okay, I won't leave us, but you also, talking to Stoneheart, cannot keep your emotions out of this.
Yeah.
And
If I'm staying, we're doing this.
Yes.
Right. And it specifically comes down to giving Stella his knot. But really, it's like, if I'm going to be all in, bro, so are you.
Yeah. Yeah. And he does.
Yeah. Works out great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
except it doesn't, because Ben was the one that got her pregnant.
And you
by
find out
accident.
later that Remy had a ring on the entire time
Like
that
a
was birth control.
dumbass.
Yeah.
He's like, I forgot. You're like, you fucker.
It's like,
Well-
you don't get to be chill after you literally broke everything up because of your dumbassery.
Well, I kind of, when I read that at the very end, that Remy has basically a magical birth control ring.
Well, because she had a magical birth control necklace. It's a thing in here.
No. That's not the part. Like, yeah, that's chill. And he bought it because he didn't want to do to somebody what his father and mother kind of did to him, right? Like, he didn't want to accidentally create a kid and just leave them out in the world on their own. But I remember reading it and being like, okay, that's kind of silly. Like, why don't you just make him infertile? But then my brain was like, because then the potion would have worked, because the whole point of the potion is it works. So, like, it had to be a magical reason that he couldn't get her pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is that, honestly, she's probably pregnant with Ben's child because of them continuing to have sex afterwards, where they're like, shove all that Remy cum in there, because that is literally what they are about to do, right? And before that, Remy walks in on them at the bathhouse, like, getting down.
Dicking down.
And he's like, yeah, do it. Finish. I don't give a shit. Finishing her, bro.
I love that. So he says like an accusatory thing about him, about Remy fucking her, because they're not supposed to fuck, just the two of them. And she's like you weren't standing in the shadows waiting to punish us. And I was like, ooh, girl, yes.
Well, to be like, at least give Stoneheart a little bit of credit there, is he did not know anything about the potion. So he's just like, yeah, we're all going to be fucking tonight in the bathhouse. It's going to be great. And Ben and Stella were like, well, she hasn't taken the potion yet, so it should be fine. It's like, in what world?
Yeah.
How does that even make a little bit of sense?
I was thinking the same thing.
Unless she douches the area before she takes the potion to completely clean it out.
Right? Use
That's
that
like-
magical long tongue you got. Let's do some more. Think about it.
Well, that's their entire relationship, is Remy thinks something about Stella, and then she does or says something that is the opposite.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, well, shit.
Yep. Yep.
So we've talked about the sex.
Well, it's
Most
a lot
of
of the
it.
book.
There's a lot of sex in this book.
Yeah.
So there's still more we haven't even talked
There's
about.
the epilogue scene. There's like...
There's a few like just one-on-one partner scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
say, a lot of books, when there's just like a fuck ton of sex in them, sometimes the story's not that great. What I really appreciate about Lillian Lark books is like, I really appreciate the story too.
Yeah, so I was going to bring it back to that, because we talked about very briefly that there are these people who are missing. And Stella is taking it upon herself to kind of go find them. And Remy is also doing it with his team. And so the cool thing about that is Stella has a place. Like, in so many of these books, especially political marriage books or whatever, like the female character doesn't always seem to have like a place in the plot, but she really does, because she's the one who finds the Fae shopkeeper guy. She's the one who learns how to make the ward charms to help protect against these people who are breaking in. She's the one who like does all of this cool shit.
Well, and she figures it out because she goes to the house of the last people that were taken. It's two moms and their children. And she realizes that they have a charm that they bought from her.
Yes.
That is a warding charm. So it had to be something like Fey magic, because there's no way it would have failed. And it was still up. It was still perfectly functional.
Yeah, it's not like somebody like found a way to break it.
Yeah. So she's like, no, I made that. So what the fuck?
Well, and that's what finally convinces Remy to quit being so overprotective of her. That and a combination of her like escaping to go see her best friend, because she's like, if I don't get the fuck out of here,
Yes.
I'm gonna be a whole ass problem, and
I need some sanity.
I will be your problem. And he's like, yeah, that's legit. But also her coming in and saying like, hey, I did some exploring and I found out this shit you wouldn't have figured out, and I got magic that you don't got, so shut up and let me do my shit.
Well, she's the only like witch he has, I guess, like working for him, right? Like it's shifters, and like Silas is a lizard folk person and he's a gargoyle, and it's like, no, you need a magic-y person. I mean, they're all magic, but you need like a witch that understands magic.
Yeah. Well, and she owned a charm shop. Like, she made charms to protect people.
Yeah. I can understand originally why Stoneheart like wouldn't anticipate that she wanted to participate in taking care of the territory, right? Like before this, she was a shop owner. She made all these charms and stuff, and she was very good at it. But why would she all of a sudden have political aspirations or care? But she does.
Well, and she's always cared, is the thing that he didn't realize. She's always cared. That's why she made the charms that she did and sold them and everything. It wasn't a money grab necessarily. She was doing what she needed to do to get by, but also she was making sure that the people in the territory were protected in ways that they could be.
Right.
Also, her dad's a prick, and she knew it.
Yes.
Well, yes.
I do also like that when he catches her in the act of doing what he told her exactly not to do, which is she goes, I'm going to go talk to people. And he's like, no, don't do that. It's super dangerous and that's a bad move. And then he catches her doing it and is like, if you don't get in this car, oh my God. And she's like, no problem. I'm going to give you a gift since you were mad that Ben got a gift. And, I'm not the biggest fan of blowjob scenes, but I thought that
Me
one was
neither,
pretty
but it was a
good.
pretty good one.
Yeah.
As someone who is a fan of blowjob scenes, yes, it was very good. And then at the end, again, Remy does that fucking thing that just makes you think he's so sweet, because she's like, how did you like your gift? And he's like, it's a lot better than I was going to ask for. I was just going to ask for you to call me by my first name. And it's like, huh, that's very nice. That's very nice.
And then he's
And then she still
immediately
doesn't.
ruins it.
Yeah, well.
And then she still doesn't, just to be an ornery bitch.
I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I'd be so much worse than she is. They make her sound like she's so, like, constantly causing trouble and drama. And it's like, no, she could be a lot worse.
She's actually pretty level-headed about most things.
Yeah. Yeah.
She really only calls him Remy when she's trying to, like, get his attention.
Yeah.
A bit like, no, Remy. Oh,
boy.
we're not calling me Stoneheart. What did I do?
Uh-oh. Oops.
But they eventually find the kids, which is good. We like it when kids don't go missing for forever.
Yeah,
well, some of them.
Yes.
They find some specific kids that were most recently missing, but they did not find a lot of people.
Yeah. That's true.
And then they also find their mothers. But before that, then they find out that they are in contact with... Because they assumed they didn't have a father because their mothers are lesbians. But they have a father. He kind of co-parents with their mothers. And so they get in contact with him. And that was very sweet.
It was very sweet, but this was another moment where I was like, oh, Lillian Lark, look at your like author skills coming through, because she gave us a scene that was already emotionally charged and set up like, oh, this is great. The kids are back. Their dad is here. Yes, it's still sad. We're looking for their mom. But then we have this like kind of cute scene between Ben and Stella, and having reread it, as I was reading that scene, I was like, oh, I know what you're doing. You're showing us how demons like have this ability to bond so like quickly, and they just constantly can't help like, because the thing with their dad is he was not supposed to be in the kids' lives, but he just couldn't help creating these bonds with them because of his demonic nature. And Ben doesn't think about it because Ben doesn't really know much about his demon abilities. And I was just, oh, look at you making your scenes do multiple things.
I know.
You smart author.
It also gives Ben an opportunity to have conversations with somebody who is like him so he can understand these things. It does kind of bite him in the back. Well, it bites Remy in the ass a little bit because Remy's like, oh, you formed a bond with us. And Ben didn't realize it was happening and got real mad.
Yeah, so after the bathhouse, their relationship tanks because these bonds that we're talking about are like actual magical bonds. And Ben accidentally or without his knowing forms a bond with both Stella and Stoneheart. And so he's super pissed because he's like, oh, you manipulated me into doing this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, how did he manipulate you? He literally told you the entire time he wanted to be in a relationship with you.
I was going to say, there was no lying about, like, Stoneheart did a lot of things. That ain't one of them, bro. Like, he was upfront.
Well, I think where I get Ben's perspective on that is that Stoneheart made it seem always like he was allowing him to touch Stella, even like further on into their sexual relationship, even to the point that the night before when all this bonding happened, he was allowing him to finish in Stella, right? And so I think in Ben's mind, this was all just still sexual gameplay and not like a bond is emotional, even if you don't fucking want it to be, Stoneheart. So I do get where he was coming from there.
No, I get it, but I just internally was like, but they said it, bud. They said it a lot. They said it over and over and over again.
Well, the trick of it with Stoneheart, right, from Ben's perspective, is he never knows, is Stoneheart saying these things to me just because he wants me, because of my teleportation abilities, which are super rare, in his like people instead of with Kalos,
or me to help settle Stella.
Yes,
which is this like double-edged sword because like yes, he wants to be there to support Stella, and yes, he also wants Stella, but also he doesn't want to be this in between Stella and Remy having like a real relationship.
Yeah. And also doesn't want to be the third wheel in their marriage.
Yeah,
what they really needed to do, which never happens in romance books because the drama. But you just need to sit down and have a conversation, not sexy time conversation. You need to have an actual conversation without the sexy times happening.
Shan't be doing that.
Yeah, I know shan't be doing that. It never happens in books because it's boring. But you know what? That is real life. Danny Brain go, hey, how about we not say these things while fucking? How about we go and sit at a dinner table and have a conversation?
Yeah. That doesn't happen in the earliest parts of their relationship as well, though, especially because they don't even know if they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Stella and Stoneheart are, but
I think too and I think this is something that Lillian Lark did really well, is Stoneheart is at his core a businessman. And so all of his interactions with Stella independently, with Ben independently, or when all three of them are in the same room together, whether it's sexual or not, are a negotiation.
Yes.
And so that the other factor with it is you don't know what you're losing when you're on the end of that negotiation where Stoneheart is clearly winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that puts everything off kilter for the other two because they never really know where things stand after Stoneheart does literally anything.
Well, and it's hard for them to know where they stand too, given the like dominant nature of things with sexy times, because they have these conversations always when sexy times are happening. Like I said, should have been not during sexy times. But part of the dominance play too is the allowing them to do certain things. Well, that's why they need to have a non-sexy time conversation.
Right.
Well, and I mean, to that specific scene, though, where Ben gets really mad at Stoneheart for manipulating these bonds to get formed, is that probably could have been blown over after Ben kind of like cooled off for a minute. But of course, that's the exact moment they find out that Stella is pregnant with Ben's child.
Yes.
Well, I felt so bad for her too because she comes in so excited. She's like, "It worked! It fucking worked! I can feel the baby," which is crazy, but I can. And they're like, "Yeah."
Well, not only that, we get her perspective right before, and she's like super nervous and kind of freaking out. And of course, she's like, I'm going to be a mom. Holy shit. How do I do this? Wait a minute. I don't have to do this alone. I have Stoneheart. I have Ben. I'm just going to go tell them, and we'll do this together.
Mm-hmm. And then immediately everything falls apart.
Yeah.
I will say that is, if there's a flaw that I see in Stella that is also present in the other two, but they have so many.
Yeah.
Is that Stella does not, like, she comes at the pregnancy very much in this political mindset as well. Does not ever stop to have a thought until she's already pregnant. What is it going to be like to have a child? And what do I, like, how do I move forward as a mother?
Yeah.
Doesn't stop to think about that. It's just that she's in her mind giving birth to a pawn.
Yeah, it's definitely something that they don't talk about anywhere near enough.
No.
But that's because right before that, the council comes in and is basically saying, like, we're going to push for a vote to oust you because we are not behind this. And so they're desperate to do anything to seem to be in favor of the people, and having an heir or proves that they intend to stay in this territory. Like, this is their home.
Well, and she points it out later on that, like, it wouldn't have mattered. The people were all behind her.
But they didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, the charms probably helped a lot.
Yeah.
It proves that she gives a shit, and she made them with her own hands.
Well, not only that, she then delivers them on her own.
Yeah.
So they see her out and about actually caring, which is the exact opposite of her father.
Yep.
So it's at that moment when they find out that it's Ben's kid that everybody has a conniption.
Yep.
Like, Ben, of course, thinks this is another manipulation and runs off. And that is, like, I honestly can't really forgive Ben for what he does. Like, I understand Stoneheart being pissed in the moment.
But he gets over it fairly quickly.
He takes a little too long.
Yeah, he flies off and is like, I gotta go think about some feelings.
Which, like, it's okay to be upset, but maybe don't be upset, like, when there's another person who is literally growing we don't know, not a non-human in her. Like, you kind of need to take a beat and be supportive and then go be upset.
Yes. And he does come back around and it tries to comfort her without comforting her, because God forbid you just, like, admit you like her. Whatever.
Stupid alpha
But he
male.
spends more time being mad at Ben for not being there than he does recognizing that he can comfort her.
Right. Yeah. Which I understand that there was a need for Stoneheart to realize that he can't rely on Ben for all of the emotional support. He needs to do it too.
Yeah, this is his moment in that.
Yeah.
And the biggest moment is when somebody asks him about it. I think when they're doing, like, an interview, or
The bad council guy comes and
Yes.
it is like, hey, how about you, Stoneheart, actually say that you didn't have anything to do with killing Lorenzo, old territory leader, and we'll blame Kalos and Stella, and then you don't have to be married to her anymore.
and he's like, fuck you. That's my clan. That's my kid.
Right.
And that's also the first time he says that he loves her.
Mm-hmm.
And she happens to be right outside the door and overhearing it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, flutter my heart.
Yes.
Except also flooded my tummy and I gotta go vomit a lot now.
Yes.
Yeah, because
And he
Ben
takes
not
care
being
of
there.
her.
Yes.
Which is really nice. And that's when he, like, sort of puts more pressure on Ben to, like, you need to get your ass back here.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm going to claim this child, but also it's your fucking kid.
Get your ass over here.
Ben still thinks that they're just playing games with
Yeah.
him and refuses to go back.
Which I don't know if in this universe, if gargoyles are more secluded, or, like, because both Stella and Ben didn't understand when Remy was telling them separately that he was claiming the child, that like it's still Ben's kid. We're both the dads. They're
Yeah.
two dads.
Yeah.
Two dads, one mom.
Yes.
I think so. At least given how Deceived by the Gargoyles was,
Mhm.
is there isn't a lot really known about gargoyles except for by other gargoyles. Like
Sure.
they have their individual clans, they stay within their individual clans, and that's why the brothers are kind of different
Right.
because they didn't create their own. It was that the two older gargoyles married a human, and then they just kind of brought in these kind of misfit gargoyles. And
Which
they
marrying a human is a no-no in gargoyle land.
correct. And then and they're the ones who made the headboard
Yes.
for Stella.
I was a little bummed that we didn't actually get to have just like a tiny moment where we got to see the Bramblewicks again.
Oh yeah, I know. I was like,
Yeah.
damn it, the Bramblewicks are here. Why can't we just see them?
Yeah.
Just for a minute.
Yeah. You know which one I wanted to
Oh,
see.
Broderick.
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted him to show up and be sassy. But no.
You know which one I wanted to see.
Yeah, but he doesn't go out and do that kind of stuff. Broderick is the one who does that kind of stuff.
It's
so
true.
it would have been Broderick.
Yeah, because he would have just been, I'm Mr. Serious because I don't know any of you people and fuck you. Because that's how he interacts with anybody that isn't his small little group.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, that's a different book.
Danny has gone into a different world, so we'll wait for her to come back.
I'm back,
from
I'm
that
back, I'm
book.
fine.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
okay,
okay,
okay,
okay.
okay. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Love you, Wiggles.
Okay, so Ben,
Yeah.
he is being a full twat waffle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Callus is like,
You're being a
you
full
see my
twat
wife
waffle.
over there? You see my super pregnant wife that it took me way too long to not be a dick to? Yeah, I regret that shit.
Don't be me.
Yeah, you could do better.
You watched me do this, bro. Like, figure the fuck out.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with Ben, though, is he puts his entire value of his self on what he can contribute or give to other people.
Yes.
And we see that through the entire book, right? Like, he has to solve problems. Like,
Mhm.
and that's when Kalos explains to him, hey, that's not what relationships are. I do love the line when Kalos is like, but wait a minute, do you think I need Katrina?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, in my head, all I can hear is Katarina
Katarina.
from the Vampire Diaries. Ugh. Anyway. And I love when Ben is like, yeah, obviously you do. And he's like, okay, bad example. Do you think she needs me?
No.
Ben is like, no.
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 I think she likes you, unfortunately for her.
Right?
But, like, yeah, I did like that as well. Because,
Mhm.
like, it also is true. Like, if you being ordered by the dragon is like, you know what, Kalos, you really need some help. And the fact that she is still hanging around you is a mystery to all of us.
She's stuck here
yeah.
because she's growing a dragon baby.
And she needs you to warm her up because your dragon baby is stealing all the heat out her body.
Right?
I did really love the, do you think I need her?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Bad example. Do you think she needs me? No.
No, actually.
No.
And you know that he was like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like constantly, he said it a few times to Ben, you know what it's like to not grow up without your family. Why are you abandoning the family that you like just created?
Right.
What are you doing, man?
And the longer you stay away, the harder it's going to be for you to get back in.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, and this is a dragon. He is thousands of years old, and he's literally like spoon feeding Ben this. Like, hey, you can have them. I don't have an issue with this.
Right.
We can be friends.
And eventually I think he either hints or something that Katrina is like, get that man out my house.
Get him going. Get him.
At one point, I swore that I was going to read the line, you don't find a couple like that every dynasty. I swear. And I was like, honestly disappointed that it wasn't there.
Oh
my God, I would have lost my shit.
I would too. Right? That would be a moment where I sit the book down for a little bit and go contemplate my decisions in a corner for a moment.
Oh
no. Yeah.
While tears stream down my eyes.
Clap. Just clapping. I would find a way to send Lillian Lark an audio file that's just me slow clapping.
Just pointing to it on the Kindle like,
Yes.
Yes, good.
Very good. Very good. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
oh gosh.
It's a headcanon that it did, though.
But while Ben is over there moping and being a sad sack, we have some real shit going down.
With kidnapping involved.
Yeah.
And I have to say, for me, that was the weak spot of the whole book. That kidnapping situation and then the rescue that happened afterwards felt like they happened in a heartbeat. And
They did happen very
and
quickly.
I was like, I don't even know what just happened. I just know that she was in danger for a second. And now we've got a stone gargoyle that will somehow magically be cured. We don't know how yet, but it's going to happen. And it just was so like... It almost wasn't a plot point. Like it was, but barely.
Yeah. And I mean, we were kind of building up for the entire book that her other family, her uncle and half brother who were with her dad in running the territory, were going to do something.
Yes.
But yeah, that kind of all happened too quickly. And it is a bit of a repeat of Deceived by the Gargoyles.
It is, yes.
But, you know, that was several books ago. So whatever.
I mean, it isn't. It isn't like the attack that she has on her in the first book. I can't remember what her name is, the main character.
I've read it like 4 times and I don't remember.
It's fine.
Yeah, whatever.
She's not important. Alistair is.
I mean, she is.
I mean, she is, but
Anyway,
Alistair.
but
Broderick.
like the attack she has on her is like this stalker creepy guy who's trying to like steal her
Yeah.
powers. So it is different. It's not quite the same, but I think the problem I had with it is I wanted to know more about her uncle. I wanted to know more about why her cousin, but not his brother, betrayed her.
That was my big thing because the cousins, Andrew and Caleb is the one that betrays her and takes her to her evil uncle guy. Those two are twins.
Yes.
So like, yeah, it makes she builds it up a little bit in the beginning that Andrew is like the good kid and he's just been kind of keeping his brother Caleb out of trouble as best he can. But like, why would they completely diverge and one be like, yes, we're going to go with Stoneheart, he's better. And the other one is like, nah, my other uncle is better.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, and I wanted to know more about like what these fake kidnappings were about, and maybe we'll find out more in the next book because it seems like there's more of a through line happening now, whereas I would say, like I said at the beginning, they're not that connected, so maybe we'll find out. But I do want to know more about that, like for what purpose are you kidnapping these people? And it doesn't seem to be about designation, like whether or not they're a shifter or a witch, or
there seemed to be something about maybe it's potentially the rarer species.
Yeah.
But that's
but
in Deceived by the Gargoyles, we got more of the kidnapping feature. Like there was a real big like emotional situation in that, and we really didn't get that in the kidnapping part. It was mostly in the trying to figure out how to wake Stoneheart up situation,
which I did like that part.
I did.
Yes.
The one thing that kind of got me is why when Stoneheart left to fly to go get Stella, because thank goodness one of his people was shadow bodyguarding her and followed her kidnapping. But why did he not call Ben? Because he had literally been on the phone with Ben a couple of days before. And yes, they're having this tiff, but something like that happens and you don't go, the person that can teleport, can you go fucking come here so you can get the person with the teleport?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like his skill is specifically extremely important in this situation.
Yes. Agreed. And to that same point, I don't know why, like I understand why Stella does not call him after the fact. I don't know why she doesn't call him in the moment.
Yeah.
Like I know at first like her phone won't work.
Yeah.
And maybe she thinks that Stoneheart's enough to save her. And yes,
I mean,
he is.
Yeah.
But she knows it's a trap for him as well. Like that's made clear to her before any of this happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why she doesn't go, oh, I'm going to jump on that instinct of we need more help here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can understand why she doesn't contact him later, because the entire territory knows something is happening. So like in her mind, she's like, why wouldn't you know? Like, yes, you're in another territory, but you guys are allies. You guys keep track of each other all the time.
I also like I guess it's fair to say that Ben deserved an apology from Stella, but not a big one.
No.
Yeah.
Like he, for all intents and purposes, he abandoned her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she has every right to be like, you're not going to be a part of the solution because you're part of the problem.
Yeah, I thought the forgiving of Ben was too quick at the end.
Yeah.
For how much trouble it caused. I do like that Stella has the thought of, well, I'm not going to like I'm not going to, I can't remember the exact words, but it's essentially like I'm not going to spend all this time and energy being mad at him because it's not worth it.
Right.
And like that's a fair thought. Like it's fair, but it definitely felt like there needed to be some sort of a bigger gesture from Ben's side that he's going to stay.
Especially because of what happens after she apologizes and he apologizes, is that they immediately start fucking
up against
the stone heart.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know,
that was the one sex scene that didn't land for me.
Nope.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that they needed to get Ben's blood to mix to, because that was a part of a spell that they tried. It involved Stella's blood, but didn't work fully because they also needed Ben's blood. So
I didn't realize because Ben needed both mates. And I think Ben didn't think that when Stoneheart mating marked him, that he actually that it was real. I think he thought it was just like, ooh, I'm being sexy. No, he's like, you're mine, motherfucker.
Well, and I think that comes back to, again, Ben not really being as aware of the different cultures because a mating mark is not something you just willy-nilly throw out there.
No.
Yeah.
I've read enough of these books to know that's not something you willy-nilly do.
Well, and getting back to your point that they needed the blood, though, there were a million other ways.
So many ways. Yeah. So many other ways.
He could have punched the wall being mad at it and then
like
touch Stoneheart.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
That's a great solution. I like that one.
Yeah.
Being mad that he hadn't been there and punch the wall.
Yeah.
And then do the like sad put my hand on Stoneheart's chest and then
right.
You know, if you wanted it to be a romantic thing, you know, you could have changed it to him like cutting his palm or even like offering to have her mark him in some way as like proof I will stay for you, right? Like there's so many ways.
Well, I kind of like that because then it's both a gesture of like his commitment and then also the blood transfer that's needed.
Yeah.
I do like the image though that they're like kissing and stuff and doing things, but kissing is where I wanted it to be, not fucking against your kind of dead husband.
All I could think was, guys, like, what if you accidentally push him over that he's dead? What if he breaks?
But the image of the wings coming down around the two of them, I was like, ooh, okay, I like that.
I had an opposite reaction. I was like, can you imagine you wake up and your lovers are fucking against your corpse? No, I wouldn't be okay. I'd be like, excuse the fuck out of me. I think the only reason he is okay is because he's got memory loss and he doesn't realize where he is at first.
He just wakes up and they're fucking next to him and he's like, oh, okay, I'll join.
Nice. All right, it's mine.
And then he's like, oh, wait, we're not just having fun?
Oh, shit.
Oh, goddamn. She's bawling. Oh, God. That was so awkward, too. He's like, why is she crying? And Ben has to explain, well, you've been, like, asleep for a week. And she thought you're going to stay that way.
Yeah.
That's the moment where he says something about, she says something about, he carved forget-me-nots on the headboard. And he's like,
yes.
Did you? And I'm like, you son of a bitch, you didn't even know. Gave you a piano and he carved forget-me-nots on the headboard.
He does know how to give gifts.
He does know how to give gifts.
So one sex scene we haven't talked about. Well, there's a couple that we haven't talked about.
There was a lot of sex in this book.
We're not going much sex.
Yes.
We're not going scene by scene sex in this book.
No,
you can't do it.
We'd be here all night.
And I'm not even going to go into the sex of this scene. But there is a scene where it's just Stoneheart and just Ben. And he basically asks Ben to like take the bracelet off because he wants to be able to smell him, and that's great. But as it tumbles to the bathtub floor, because Ben's like looks really distraught because it's something that Stella gave to him. She put so much thought and effort into it, and she put fucking forget-me-nots on the goddamn bracelet.
Yes.
And so, even though Stoneheart is jealous about it, he's like, maybe Stella can like take the magic off it. And I was like, oh, why is that sweet?
It is a moment that stuck with me too. I'm like, oh, yeah, you need to take the magic off that because he hates not being able to smell it. And once he already declared to everybody that they are the clan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and illegally got Ben's signature on the clan paperwork.
Because he did a nice thing, but he always has to do it in the most problematic way.
I know. I love that he's like, do you have a problem with it? And he's like, no, it's fine.
It's fine, I guess.
You don't have a choice. It's done.
Tough shit, bitch. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. That's the end of the book.
Yeah.
Did we really...
Well, Ben gets a wedding as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Ben
which
gets
is
a
cute.
wedding.
And Stella somehow manages to fix her wedding dress, which Ben designed.
Magic, she says. Which,
Magic.
I mean, that's the only way it could have been done.
Yeah, he fully takes his like claw and is like, rip, 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 rip. Well, that was a cute dress you had. So, yeah. And then they're mates together with a baby.
With a bye-bye.
With a baby. Discussions of future babies, which is like, maybe have the first one and find out how much you like that screaming demon first.
Right.
But that's just me.
Same.
Which can actually be a literal demon.
It could be.
Yes.
Or a witch. We don't know.
Or, oh yeah, no, it can't be a gargoyle, can it?
Nope.
Future.
Nope, that's the whole plot, Danny, is that it can't be a gargoyle.
What if it comes out a lion shifter?
Oh, it could, actually.
She is half lion shifter, yeah.
Yeah. And we also don't know Ben's parentage.
No, we just know that one of his parents is a demon.
Yeah. He could be anything.
Oh
What
my
if it's a
god.
gargoyle.
They could have a sea monster baby. They don't know what's happening.
A new
They could have a
kraken.
fucking minotaur in there and they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. I think y'all appreciate this. I saw a meme the other day that if you breed a minotaur and a centaur together, there's a 1 in 4 chance that you just get a boring ass human. And that feels appropriate to the conversation. There's also a chance you just have a horse.
A bull horse thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. Thought you'd like it.
God, that would suck if you're like the human kid. Like, this is my sister. Look, she's a cool ass centaur. Oh, look, my brother who's a minotaur. I'm the human.
I
It's
think
great
it-
over here.
I think it would be really great if you played it where it was like, yes, you're the boring human, but your brother's a horse.
Yes.
A
It's just
sentient, like fully cognizant, fully human brain, but like that's a horse. Yikes.
It's true.
Anyway,
Anyway.
you know what? I think it's maybe ratings time.
I agree.
What's your spice rating?
I think this might be my spiciest read in a long time. I might go with a 5.
Oh, Jesus.
I know. But like, my God, it was at least 50% spice, and I would say probably 65% spice.
I'm going to go with a 4.5. I don't think it's pushed quite to the 5 for me, but
I'm going to go with a 4.5 as well. Purely as like, is there something higher to aim for then?
oh, I want to know.
So, just so you know how I felt about the spice.
Yes, please.
I specifically at one point wrote the following.
Oh, good.
It's in that very spicy first throuple scene. I wrote this. I said, "This is the filthy shit Republicans are afraid of." And so that's how I felt about it. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yes. What's your romance rating?
I'm gonna go with a 3. They have their really romantic moments. But they have a lot of like, you just need to sit and have a fucking conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the romantic moments are wrapped up in either sexy times,
Yes.
or Stoneheart doing something to counteract the romantic moment, or Ben just not realizing that it's a romantic moment.
Mm-hmm.
Ben trying really hard not to get it.
Yeah, he was actively trying to not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go with a 3.5.
That's kind of what I was thinking. And
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna not think anymore and just go with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your overall rating?
I gave it a 4.
I
It's not to the level that like pushes it up to a 5, but I really love these. But I mean, I'm obsessed with this series. Let's be honest.
well, that makes it difficult, right? Because when I first read it, I gave it a 3.5. But I think that's incorrect. I reread it and I think it's definitely a 4. But I'm so addicted to this series. Does that mean it should get a higher rating? Because like I read this one and the previous book, and I will be reading the next one like as soon as they come out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how do you?
It is tricky.
It is tricky because I have been obsessed with this series because I'm the one who discovered this series.
You sure are.
You
Of
take
the
a lot
three
of
of us.
pride in that, don't you, Danny?
I do. And it's because I was on Kindle Unlimited one day and was like stalked by the Kraken. Ooh, tentacles. Let's go. I was, in a weird
Yeah.
mood. And then devoured it. and then devoured Deceived by the Gargoyles and just kept going.
Yeah.
And then I introduced you guys to Deceived by the Gargoyle.
I give it a solid 4. In my opinion, this is my favorite one that I've read in this series, personally. Even though there were many times where I wanted to punch Stoneheart in the dick. And I think the reason I like it the most is a lot of her other books are shorter, and I don't think are as well fleshed out.
Yeah.
And I've seen that start to get more. Like, as she gets farther in the series, it's clear that she's got more to say and isn't limiting herself to like a 250 page count kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I really liked exploring these characters, and that it wasn't it isn't everything that you read in romance all of the time. It was complicated in a good and interesting way.
Yeah.
Honestly, it could have been a 4.5 or even higher if it weren't for how rushed the ending was.
And
I will say the ending was a bit rushed.
Yeah.
And that was the same problem that I had with Hoarded by the Dragon, is the ending was just too rushed.
Yes.
Which it saddens me because she didn't have that problem before. Like, Deceived by the Gargoyles, the ending's not rushed like that. Same thing with the Basilisk.
I think this is something that comes from wanting to flesh the plot out even more and add more elements, which I thought in the middle of the book was super successful, like with the kids,
absolutely,
and all of that stuff. Very successful. So again, this is me just being like, and then the next one will be better, and the next one will be better, and she's just gonna keep writing better books. So
I think I can pin down why, though, these last two, the endings have felt so rushed, where the first two or first handful have not. And it's that the problems that these characters are facing are much more
in depth.
No, I think they're much more intimate. But when you start talking about big political worlds, there's more bodies, there's more people affected, right? And so there's more problems that need to be solved at the end. There's more consequence that we need to have explained to us at the end, versus if it's a personal stalker who's a problem.
Yeah.
So there are much fewer people who will pay the consequences, good or bad, right? And so there doesn't need to be as much explained. And, you know, if there's a reason a lot of people who write romantasy or paranormal fantasy kind of things keep it to very personal and insular
situations.
problems. Because you don't have to worry about the rest of the world that you're creating.
Honestly, I think my only real note to that is if we would have just spent like 2 chapters with Stella being captured instead of like half a one really, then that would have really fixed most of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with that.
We don't really get to know anything about these other characters and why they would want to kidnap her, why they are wanting to kidnap anyone. Like, why are these bad guys the bad guys other than they happen to be bad guys? And I think that's something that, just like you said, a couple more chapters would solve.
Yep. Well, and then there could have been a really great scene where Remy and Ben make up before they go try to save her.
Yes.
And then Remy gets, you know, his curse, and then they break it together, and you don't have to worry about like trying to bring Ben back in at the end. He's already there.
Yeah. All right, recommendations.
I'm doing the easy one. Any book by Lillian Lark.
God
but
damn it, Danny.
Distinctly Deceived by the Gargoyles. Mainly because it's the male and male-female relationships, which I really appreciate. It is something before I read Deceived by the Gargoyles that I didn't know that I would like be super into. Most of the times when I read like a group sexy time book, it was, you know, all of the guys for the girl.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate the relationship between the men as well.
Yeah.
Like, all of them have a relationship, and I like that.
I'm going to recommend Desire in His Blood by Zoe Draven, which is it's technically a sci-fi romance, but I'll be honest with you, it reads like any monster romance. So if you don't like sci-fi, no problem.
Oh, but I do.
So it is about Gemma, who is the oldest daughter, and she's got massive oldest daughter syndrome. And her father has gotten to all of these gambling debts, an alcoholic, but that kind of doesn't really come up. So I guess minor trigger warning. And she has to find a way to pay his gambling debts. And she finds out that there is one of the leaders of this other alien race who specifically is wanting an arranged marriage with her. She doesn't really know why, but he's willing to pay like buku bucks for it. And she says, okay. and she has to go and live with him, and they are like gargoyles meets vampires.
Okay.
So there's a lot of blood play, a lot of
Okay.
biting, and the blood is a lot.
Okay.
I like that though.
And we find out that very quickly that he wanted her to fuck over her dad. So it is not a happy relationship, and there's a lot of like not hate fucking, but like hate sexual interactions. So it was very good.
I was gonna say I do love a hate sexual.
Yes.
Okay, so my recommendation is going to be Scythe and Sparrow by Brynn Weaver. And yes, I've already read it. Been out for 5 minutes, and I was like, give it to me.
Is that your recommendation just because you read it and you want to talk about it?
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not petty enough to do that shit. But no, there is a reason. The relationship between Fionn and Rose is the central story that's being told, but we're getting... you get to go back in time if you've read the first 2 books and sort of see from their perspective the things that have gone on, and the way that their relationship develops, where it's not supposed to be emotional and there's all these rules of what they can and cannot do. It feels very in line with if you were like, I want some Remy, but if he was more of a soft boy. So that's why it's my recommendation, because it's very similar in the like give and take, miscommunication, wanting more, not getting it, but also giving too much dynamic that just like cycles through where you're like, I don't know where we stand.
I don't know what's happening anymore.
Yes. So if you want that, only with a soft boy who is also chill with murder.
Well, you would have to be, knowing his brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be accepting with it. And with clowns because of Rose.
As somebody who doesn't like clowns, is that something that you can easily get past in this book?
I think so. Yes.
Okay, good.
There's no like real clown. There's some clownish makeup, but you can really easily look past it.
Cool.
You don't picture things in your brain hole anyway.
I was asking for the people.
Fair enough.
It's good. It is on par.
You're like, don't call me out like that, Danny.
I will say, like, if you've read the first 2 books, you're gonna fucking love it, and you're gonna love hearing more about characters you've already met.
I do like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so it also has that in common with this book. So yeah.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of the episode. If you like this episode, you can find us out there on the socials at Wrong Dust Jackets, primarily on TikTok and Instagram, but you can also find us on our website at wrongdustjackets.com. You'll find a list of all the things we've done, all the episodes we've done in the past, all of the episodes we have coming up, and our blog posts as well. And yeah, we would love it, like it, I'd be so happy if you gave us 5 stars, like, rating, review on any podcast listening app that is available to you. That's all I got. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I forgot my line for a second.
You forgot bye-bye?